Hello everyone. Today we are going to review last week's bell work and exit ticket answers. There is bell work questions that will be in the middle of this video. So please watch as we go through and compare the correct answers to the answers that you put on your bell work from last week. Last week's first question asked what the four major classes of macromolecules were. The correct answer should have been carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. These are all organic molecules, which means they are composed of carbon. The next question asks, what is a monomer? Monomers are the individual subunits that bind together to form larger molecules. They are the basic subunit of all macromolecules. Each individual type of macromolecule, which was just listed, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids, each have their own individual monomers that bind together to form their larger polymer molecules. Although we use dehydration synthesis to describe carbohydrates in this example, dehydration synthesis is a way that we have a chemical reaction that is metabolic, so it's going to build up larger compounds in a chemical reaction that water is lost. And this happens with carbohydrates, explained here, where we have two monomer subunits that are bound together via dehydration synthesis reaction, where water is a byproduct. So make sure that you understand dehydration synthesis is not only for carbohydrates, but that is one example of how dehydration synthesis occurs. Another type of chemical reaction we studied in this chapter is hydrolysis, which was the next correct answer. Hydrolysis is the chemical reaction that adds water to break bonds, to have a catabolic reaction to break apart polymers into their subunit monomers. So in this example, we are talking about a polysaccharide or a disaccharide in more specific terms, how it is broken apart by adding water, and then we can break the individual subunits of this polysaccharide up. The best way to describe disaccharide formation is via the dehydration synthesis reaction. Disaccharides form via dehydration synthesis reaction, which is metabolic in nature and has a byproduct of water, where two monosaccharides form together to make a glycosidic bond to form a polysaccharide, which specifically is a disaccharide. A disaccharide is an example of a carbohydrate. In fact, it is a monosaccharide, or the monomer subunit of carbohydrates, bound together via the dehydration synthesis reaction we just reviewed to form a molecule that has two subunits to form a disaccharide. The four major subgroups of lipids include fats and oils, waxes, phospholipids, and steroids. That was the next question on your bell work. So make sure that you understand these are the four major subgroups of lipids. We have two major subgroups of fats, which are unsaturated and saturated fats. The difference between saturated and unsaturated fats is that saturated fats are saturated with hydrogens and have no double bonds within their chemical structure between carbons. They are solids at room temperature, and they are a little bit worse for your diet than our unsaturated fats, and are highly associated with cardiovascular disease, whereas our unsaturated fats are unsaturated with hydrogen, meaning they have at least one double bond between the carbons in their group. Unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature, such as oils, and they are better for your diet than saturated fats. Now we can have monounsaturated fat and polyunsaturated fats, where mono would mean the saturated fat has one double bond, and polyunsaturated fat would mean it has more than one double bond between the carbons on the chain. The monomer for lipids is a fatty acid. You can notice between all of the subgroups of lipids, each has a fatty acid, which contains a long hydrocarbon chain, and then the OH H group on the end. So you can see the fatty acid here in saturated fats. You can see the fatty acid tail here in our unsaturated fats. You can see the fatty acid here in our trans fats. You can see the fatty acid here in our essential fatty acids, which are omegas. You can see them in our waxes as well. So that fatty acid and also on the phospholipids as well. So make sure that you understand that our lipids all have the subunit, the monomer of a fatty acid. Triglyceride is an example of one of the polymers for fats. One of the polymers of lipids, because we are forming multiple fatty acids together by combining glycerol and 3 fatty acids. Since we're combining 3 of the subunits, that is considered a polymer because it's composed of more than one type of lipid. The monomer of proteins are amino acids, which are 20. There are 20 different amino acids in nature, and they are bonded together via polypeptide bonds. The functions that proteins have within the body are digestive, transport, structure, hormonal, defensive, contractile, and storage. So there are many different functions of proteins within our body. Here is pictured the structure that all amino acids share. We have the amino group, which is NH2, the alpha carbon, which is the central carbon, and the carboxyl group, where we have a carbon double bonded to an oxygen, which is single bonded to an OH group. And they all have a differing side chain, which makes these 20 different amino acids various and different with different properties and polarity. The secondary structure of proteins involves folding to make helix and pleated sheets, and this is formed by the hydrogen bonding capacity of the NH and the CO groups on all amino acids. And finally, the difference between nucleic acid and nucleotides is that nucleotides together will come and form the nucleic acids. The 2 nucleic acids are DNA and RNA, and the nucleotides are the structural components that build these DNA and RNA molecules via bonding between their nitrogenous base pairs. As always, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for your exit ticket. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all soon. Go ahead and pause the screen, complete your exit ticket, and I will talk to all of you soon. Have a great rest of your day.